Hello, everybody. So I'm Enrique.
And Carole.
Yep, and we're traveling full time. This month, we're in Roatán, Honduras for the month of April. We're in an Airbnb, which is typically, what we do is we stay month-long stays in Airbnbs. And so we're here on an island this time. Roatán happens to be the second largest barrier reef, so it's super popular for scuba divers. That's the big draw and attraction here for most people. And there's also cruise ships that stop by. It's got a couple of cruise ship docks, and anywhere from like 1 to 5 cruise ships stop here at a time.
Day. Yeah. This is a 1-day stop here. And we're off of Honduras, so 40 miles from Honduras.
Yeah, it's English-speaking island. It started out that way, as English-speaking. Of course, being close to Honduras and Central America, there's a lot of Spanish-speaking as well, but it's predominantly
But English is their first language here. Yeah. The temperature is really interesting to me. I've never been to the Caribbean before, so the water's just incredible. But the daily temperature hardly changes at all. One day,
it's really
the other
surprising.
day, it was like a low of 80 and a high of 81, or a low of 79 and maybe a high of 82. So it really it hardly changes at all. It doesn't cool off.
Daytime, nighttime, it's all pretty much the same temperature.
And humidity has been about in the 80s too. And so,
so then it's noticeable. So when it's in the 80s, the humidity, we're noticing, okay, then you're feeling a little sticky, and,
Definitely,
but it also has been dropping into the 70s.
Right.
And
there was one day, so we're dropped
and,
into like from 80 to 70, and I really noticed the difference.
Yeah.
And if you watch any of our other videos, you can always tell when we go someplace and it's high humidity, my hair's up in a ponytail because it's a frizz ball.
Yeah, so our lesson learned from that is that it's not only the temperature, that makes the difference. We never thought to look at humidity for the places that we're going, but yeah, we should.
And the water temperature is in the 80s also, so it's amazing. You
awesome.
just walk right into the water. So
it's like bathtub water.
Yeah.
So I love that, especially because we've been doing a bunch of snorkeling, but I also did a lot of scuba diving. So with all this scuba diving, it's really nice because it just is such warm water that you don't even need a wetsuit. I was wearing a little shorty wetsuit most all the time. So it's been really nice and incredibly comfortable to be in the water for long periods of time.
Right. The first week we were here, we did get a little bit of rain. So tropical storms. Again, the weather doesn't change. The humidity maybe dropped a little bit, but did have a little bit of rain here and there. There are some bugs. We got a handful of mosquito bites. So we're putting on a lot of sunscreen, and we also are putting on just some over-the-counter bug spray every day too.
Yeah, the bug spray, I just have been putting on my legs only, just because it's not so much mosquitoes in the air. I haven't noticed that so much at all. It's more of, the locals call them no-see-ums on the beach. And so, it's like sand fleas, so you can get ankle bites. The beaches around us, because we're in the real touristy area of West Bay,
right,
where a bunch of the big resorts are. So they go out and they're raking the sand every day, and that's getting rid of any of the sand fleas. So I would say it's more in the remote beaches where you would get more
and when we were
sand
walking
fleas.
around and going,
not a big deal. It's just something to be aware of.
Yeah. Anyway, so you went scuba diving. That's the main thing here, that people come from all around the world. They come to Roatán to scuba dive. So I did not, so you could talk about that.
Yeah. So I found it was through one of the resorts here, but a smaller one where it's predominantly actually the dive shop is kind of the bigger part of it. Naboo was the name of it, and just amazing dive instructors. So I went with several different dive instructors. I did about a dozen dives so far, and we're still here for a few more days. I'm going out again today. And so the scuba diving has just been amazing. I've seen all sorts of incredible fish and wildlife. So obviously lots of tropical fish that are super colorful, huge parrotfish. I've seen, well, we saw turtles. Actually, Carol was the first one to spot a turtle.
Well, wait, that was
when we were
snorkeling.
just snorkeling.
That was snorkeling.
Right?
That wasn't scuba diving.
So even snorkeling, the reef is so large, so close to the shore, and so beautiful that you don't even have to go scuba diving to see a lot of
not at all.
the fish. It's so close by.
Yeah.
So saw turtles. Did see jellyfish. I did get stung twice, and so I started then wearing a full length suit just that I wouldn't get stung. But then even yesterday I went back out again in a shorty because
did you?
It's comfortable. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
I
just
didn't know
a little
that.
more comfortable.
Because I ran to the pharmacy one day the first time he got stung.
Yeah, and they gave some medicine, and then it was gone by the next day. So not a big deal. Not bad stings. The saw barracuda, and so that was pretty cool. Saw more eels. So these eels are just huge. Saw some huge green up close more eels. I know a friend of ours had gotten bit one time by a more eel. Thank goodness. They were just kind of peacefully on the bottom and in the rocks when I saw them, so no worries there.
Yeah.
Then bunch of different stingrays, some with spots, without spots, and they were pretty casual. Didn't mind, getting close to the stingrays. Us getting close to them. Some amazing huge pufferfish. So I could go on. I mean, there's just so many amazing things to see, and then of course the coral itself was amazing to see. So
yeah, he really got into
great.
it. Really
Scuba
liked,
was awesome.
Really like scuba diving. And then to go back to the snorkeling, so that's more my comfort level is snorkeling. You just walk right out into the water on the beach. There's no waves here at all. The water is crystal clear.
No seaweed.
Yeah, no seaweed, nothing. You have your snorkeling gear on, you walk in and you immediately can see fish and coral. You don't even have to swim out that far. I mean, there's little kids and snorkeling also. Fantastic.
Yeah, because there's not a huge surf, the sand isn't getting churned up, and so the visibility is really good. It's only if it's super windy out or something like that where there's a little bit more wave action. But for the most part, most days, pretty calm, and so then crystal clear water.
Yeah, just really
just
nice,
amazing.
easy. Anybody could do it.
Yeah.
One of the big things that we did, like a splurge for us, is we went to Anthony's Key and we swam with the dolphins. So that was fantastic. They call it the dolphin experience. There's a couple different things you can do. The package we got is we were with a group. The trainer told us all about the dolphins and what they do there. We got a little kiss. We got to get close to Rocky. That was our dolphin. And then we snorkeled for 30 minutes in the big area where all the dolphins are. And so that was great because it was like regular snorkeling. You saw other fish. You saw coral and everything. And then all of a sudden, once in a while, the dolphin would just swim right by you or be under you or something. So that was really fun to do.
They're doing a lot of research there. So they do actually let the dolphins out, which is great. So the dolphins are able just to swim on their own. Of course, they're coming back because they're used to being fed, and so they're not used to having to fend for themselves in the wild. And so they really, they come back to eat. Of course, they also mate for life, found out, and so they're coming back to be with their mates and such.
And they've got a breeding program.
But at least they are able to swim freely, so that's a good thing.
So that was incredible. That was really neat thing to do. We jet skied.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to do. So we're here for a month, and of course, then folks are telling us, you don't need to go for a month. It's an island. You're going to get bored. But really, there's a lot of things to do. We didn't do everything.
We did it, and mostly it's all, you're in the Caribbean, so it's all mostly having to do with water and water sports and stuff.
Yeah, so we went on jet skis, so that was a lot of fun on jet skis.
I'm laughing because Enrique was driving. He was a maniac.
We were going to switch out, and then
we were going to switch out, but we didn't want to come all the way back. So we paid for half an hour. That was plenty for me. I was holding on to dear life. I felt like I ran a marathon. Yes, Enrique went a little too fast for me, is what I will say. I was screaming through the whole thing.
It was fun. Yeah. It was jet skis were fun getting airborne on them a few times, and so that was definitely loads of fun.
Yes.
Then things we didn't do. I mean, we didn't go kayaking. They even had glass bottom boats, glass bottom kayaks. There's of course the usual booze cruises that you can go on. Trips to surrounding islands. I've done that previously. Yeah. We didn't do that this time around, but you can go to some of the surrounding there are smaller islands. We're on the largest island, and take a look at other beaches and things to do.
Our beach was so great in West Bay. We were
having a great time.
One day we did a water taxi. Another day we actually walked over to West End, which is another town that has souvenir shops and a lot more restaurants and a beautiful beach there too. And so we were kind of happy with.
Yeah, the water taxis are super convenient because they're always around. It's only it was $5 per person, so very inexpensive to just jump on a water taxi
and
go to various locations.
Right.
It was kind of easier, faster than trying to get either an Uber or a regular taxi.
Oh yeah.
It worked out great.
Another day, I thought we should go see more of the island. Mm-hmm. Enrique's been here a bunch of times, but he's never traveled out anywhere a little farther. So we hired a driver, and we were gone for 3 hours, and we just said, we want to see some of the other bigger towns. And so that turned out to be really nice.
Yeah, it was a tour guide, but we just went by ourselves so that way we could tell the tour guide what we wanted to see, and then we could, stop at places that we wanted to for the length of time that we wanted to versus being on a tour with a dozen other people type of a thing. So that worked out extremely well.
It did. We went to the Arboretum, which was beautiful. This guy started it. He was a character because he was there telling us all about it. He came to Roatán, I think he started it like 30, 40 years ago. And he's just an environmentalist, and it was great. So
it's obviously a pet project for him. He's continually every day, and we met some other people talking about, he's there every day working on this place. And so it's a wonderful arboretum.
It was really nice.
All sorts of
beautiful trees, plants. I mean, obviously that's what you're there for. There were birds and stuff. It was really pretty. It was really nice and just quiet and relaxing. And I should have brought my Kindle or a book. I could have sat there all day on one of the benches there. So that was really pretty. Then we went to the iguana farm.
The iguana farm was funny because they were, I don't know how many iguanas, many dozens of iguanas.
Yes.
And again,
30,
they're
40,
they're
50.
not caged. They had some babies that they were keeping the babies in cages. They said because then the other iguanas would fight with them and
they stayed there. But I think
but it was for their own protection.
Were like 5 months old, and they stay in the cage for 2 years. Because they need to be fed and helped out.
Then the reason why they stick around is because they're being fed. So it's nice to be able to see the iguanas not in cages, that they're actually able to roam around. But and so they gave us some leaves to be able to feed the iguanas. And so there I was feeding the iguanas, and they're just all coming around me from everywhere, a couple of dozen at least.
You say
coming around my.
Yes, you say the guy gave us some leaves. I passed and did not take the leaves.
And you gave me your
I
leaves.
was standing very far away from the iguanas. And Enrique, they were huge, and they were all over Enrique. So
and it was funny because then when I put my hand down, they would actually arch their back into me, wanted to be
kind of pet
like
a cat.
So I pet the iguanas.
No. I was standing far away taking pictures of that. And we did go down to the water. They were showing us I think there was some barracudas, or there was some fish down by the water too, by the pier.
Some really large fish.
So that was an iguana farm we went to. We drove through Flower Bay and French Harbor and Sandy Beach, so all these smaller towns. Sandy Beach, the road was on the beach. We turned off the road, and we were just driving in our SUV.
Literally on the sandy beach. So the town and the houses face the sandy beach, which that's what the road is on the sandy beach. That was
and we went to Coxon Hole, and that is a bigger developed area. That's where the airport is.
Yeah,
we
the
went
harbor.
yeah.
One of the cruise ships
Right.
lands right there in Cox and Hold. There's a secondary now cruise ship dock that is not very far away. So that's kind of also an area where the locals live, and so that's where you have all your, banks and supermarkets.
Right.
And
We went to
all
the
sorts of
bigger
stuff going
grocery
on.
store the first day we got here when we flew in, and also we asked our driver to stop so we could stock
Load up on groceries.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
there's small little bitty
markets.
where we're at, so we're able to replenish. But the big supermarket, they
Just
have
what you think.
everything.
Yeah, like a regular grocery store. That's in Cox and Hole. So that was great. I mean, we got to see a lot. It was beautiful. That was wonderful.
Yeah, and it's cleaned up a lot. From where I've been before to Cox and Hole, it's definitely cleaned up a lot. It's pretty good.
Another day we went to. Let me see
Gumbalimba.
Gumbalimba.
Yeah, so another area that, I mean, essentially it's a touristy place where they have a little bit of a history of the island. They also have a bunch of macaws, iguanas, monkeys.
Yeah, I would say it was an animal sanctuary. They're taking care of the animals there. They're not caged in, but of course they're feeding them so that they stay there.
Keep coming back. Right.
So,
they said they didn't have as many monkeys because now there's a couple of other sanctuaries that are popping up
and
feeding them.
Yeah.
So some of the monkeys have left to go on to these other locations, but they are taking good care of them, certainly. Honduras did pass a law just, what was it, at the beginning of the month?
Yeah.
Where you're no longer allowed to hold the animals, or that is the tourists. So where it used to be, you'd have somebody come up to you with an iguana and here, hold the iguana, put it on your shoulder, or the macaw, or the monkeys. You used to be able to feed the monkeys and have them stand on your shoulder while you're feeding the monkeys. So they don't permit that anymore. So there's no more holding of the animals. Now, a lot of these monkeys where we're at, they were so well trained, essentially, that anytime they saw a tourist, they knew the tourist was going to feed them, and they would run right over. So they did come right over to us.
To you, especially.
Yeah.
They were all over you.
It was just playing around with my feet.
Right.
Did not come up on my shoulder, but did go up on one of the other person's shoulders that we were with.
Yeah.
And
jumped on his shoulder, jumped on his head and stuff. But of course, he wasn't grabbing for him or anything. So that was really fun. The macaws were beautiful. Again, iguanas. I don't need to see any more iguanas.
But it's pretty cool to see all the macaws.
Yes.
And to see everything. We then one day hired one of the water taxis.
Yes.
Actually, it's because he approached us and said, "Hey, I'll take you here, I'll take you there, I'll do this, do that." We said, "Sure."
Stormin Norman was our captain. Yes, he was a nice guy.
So there's a water taxi for just the two of us, and so we went to a whole bunch of different places around the island. Went to the mangroves. The mangroves are these trees where the roots then are growing into the water, and I think it's the only tree that
it's like
survives off of salt water, off of seawater. And so as a result, you have these areas where you can go in with the boat, little channels that go through these trees, through these mangroves. And so that's pretty cool. So we did that. He also took us over to Anthony's Key before we swam with the dolphins.
Right.
Anthony's Key's it's a big resort, and it has with a couple of tiny little islands there that they have their little bungalows on and such. So he took us there. We looked at the fish. And then he was giving us food, and we're feeding some of the fish that are right in the immediate area there. And so then...
and then we went snorkeling.
Kind of fun.
And then
he took us someplace to go snorkeling.
Way out, and not just walking right off the beach like we usually do. But
it was kind of in a channel of coral.
Yeah,
and
so that was really pretty.
Cool. Yeah.
That was really fun. That was good. Snorkeling.
Took us to West End. We went ate and went to the restaurants and kind of walked around West End for a bit, which is it's just another beach town.
Yeah, another town
of many here.
Right. One of the things that's known here on West Bay is Bananarama, which is a resort. It's a restaurant, it's right on the beach. And every Sunday they're known for their crab races and their fire show.
So these are hermit crabs.
Right, hermit crabs. It's a fundraiser, so they are wanting you to pay and bet
on a specific hermit crab.
Right, and then they put all the crabs in the middle in the sand, and they see which one makes it to
the outer perimeter that they've just, using
Right.
their foot, just made a little circle in the sand. And
so that was fun. And then they had a fire show at night. So that was really...
Yeah, a couple of people who are doing these, and then I saw them elsewhere too, so they're doing a fun fire show on the sand.
In the nighttime.
For anybody who happens to be in the area, it's not like you get to pay to see these things.
No.
You're just strolling by and there's a fire show. A bunch of the resorts were doing different things. They were strolling by, and one resort was doing outdoor movie nights.
Yeah, they had a big screen. It's for the people staying at the resort, but it's on the beach. Anybody could just bring a chair
watch
or
a
their
movie.
own blanket. Yeah, doing that. There seems to be live music every night. Every restaurant around
places,
here has somebody singing or with a guitar. We went to Bananarama last night for dinner, and there was live music going on. A guy was playing a guitar and singing. So,
one thing was different, like in Mexico. Every single restaurant that we went to is all outdoors.
Yes,
because the weather's so good year round. It doesn't really vary that much. Every single restaurant is outdoors. And that's been a fun experience.
And super casual.
Well.
I mean, people are walking up from the beach and they're in their bathing suits, maybe a cover up on, and they might have shoes or they might be barefoot. It doesn't matter. Dress any way you want.
The outdoor restaurant and bar. Of course, all the restaurants have bars.
Exactly.
And stuff. So
but you can dress
nice,
it any
casual
way,
beach life.
Any way you want to with that. Yes.
Yeah. So that was a lot different than our restaurant experiences, like in
anywhere
Mexico,
else.
where we're doing Puerto Vallarta and Sayulita places. Those were all indoor, or maybe somewhere outdoor restaurants. But this is definitely
you're walking right out of the water
outdoor.
up to a restaurant and sitting and having dinner. That's totally fine. Yeah.
There's some neighborhoods in the area, and so we did also go for walks, and I was going for a run and such. And went one day, or one of the neighborhoods is just beautiful houses. Some that were built a long time ago, and obviously some that are just being built right now. Just incredibly beautiful mansions. I know in Mexico they were saying foreigners could not buy the land, so you have to get around the legalities, but here they could.
Right.
So there are definitely a lot of folks both from Canada and Mexico that are building.
The United States.
Canada and the United States, not Mexico. Folks from Canada and the United States, predominantly. Of course, there's others from Honduras and all sorts of other countries, but that are building homes, and these homes are amazing.
They were definitely mansions. They were really big on the water or on the hill, with these beautiful views. Now, some were homes that people were living in, and some where we were walking that neighborhood that I kind of called the Beverly Hills of Roatán, that were rentals also.
Yeah. So you could do
some
that
of them
as
were
well.
rentals.
Yeah. So I think, Roatán's definitely going from an unknown, obscure, tiny little Caribbean island to actually a well-known island, certainly well-known amongst the scuba diving community.
Right. And then they also have just beautiful resorts here too. Like we said, we're staying in an Airbnb, which is terrific.
Because that's what we like.
That's
we
the way
enjoy
we
the
like
space.
to travel.
We have kitchen, and we'll do on another little video an Airbnb tour of our space.
But there are a lot of resorts, Henry Morgan, Infinity Bay. So right next to us, and they've got the restaurants. They've got tons of chairs and chaise lounges, that you can rent that are right on the water, and
that are super high end, 5-star. A bunch of the resorts are also all inclusive.
Right.
Certainly, a lot of them are all inclusive, including scuba diving packages, and so I know a lot of the folks will come for these scuba diving packages, but then they have everything else included.
Yeah, they've got
spas
there and gyms and swimming pools too. Actually, a lot of them.
Yeah, it's
you
kind
can
of funny
be in the
having
swimming pool and you're looking right at the
ocean
right there.
Which I think the water temperature of the ocean is so awesome,
Yes.
and there's no seaweed. Why not just go in the ocean rather than a swimming pool? But
Right.
yeah, there's swimming
but
pools
some people like pools
with
better.
bars, and so you can have cocktails and bars. Although, even though you can have cocktails and bars right in your swimming pool, there are little kayaks, locals with kayaks that have cocktails and pineapples and coconuts for sale, and he's just kayaking around in the water along the beach, selling
in the water.
drinks.
Yes, right,
Yeah,
right.
selling
So you can
drinks.
drink
So-
in the water too.
Yeah. So there were definitely a lot of folks that, even getting cocktails at the, one of the bars and walking down, or just grabbing one from the guy kayaking by with drinks. So
Exactly.
that was funny.
Exactly. One of the things that we got to experience, because we're here in April and it's Easter in April, is Holy Week, or here they call it
Semana Santa.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's basically like spring break for Honduras. Schools are closed. People take time off of work that week, and so there were a lot of locals from Honduras.
Local tourists. Right.
Tourists, from the mainland. The beaches, everybody was warning us about it. Now, we don't mind that people are around. We were not looking for a beach that was just for the two of us. So yes, there were definitely a lot more people.
But every single restaurant still had space available.
Yes.
We never, ever once went or even saw a restaurant with all the tables full.
Right.
There was always plenty of tables available, even at the peak. And so folks are telling us, this is the Semana Santa, the spring break week, essentially at Easter, is the number one most popular day or the
week
of the year,
Right.
and then followed by December, January. So December, January is when they have a lot of folks come down, a lot of Canadians coming down. But next would be April, after January, February, as being the busiest times of year.
But I wouldn't. I mean,
But it's not busy. Like right now, for other than those. Okay, so those few days around Easter were busy for sure, but the whole rest of the time, I mean, frequently we've got the beach to ourselves. We got the water to ourselves. We've even gone to restaurants where we're maybe the only person, or maybe there's another couple at the restaurant.
Right.
So it is definitely not a packed touristy type of place.
Especially
There's
in the
plenty
evening.
of space, very tranquil, calm.
The daytime, you can tell who the cruise ship people are, because they're laying out. They've got their little wristbands on, but that hasn't stopped us from doing anything. So, if you want to come in April, I would still do it, unless you really want a secluded island and you don't want to be near anybody. But there wasn't
and then there
anything
are other
we couldn't
islands
do.
around Roatán that are secluded.
That's
so if
true.
you want to be secluded, there's beaches and islands around Roatán that are 100% secluded.
That's true.
It's just that, we don't mind. Yeah.
One of the other things
Kind of get around stuff.
that they have here on the beaches is vendors, and they've all been very polite. Nobody's pushy.
A lot fewer vendors than we encountered in Mexico.
Well,
A lot fewer than when we were on the beach in Puerto Vallarta and Sayulita. They're definitely being approached frequently by vendors. Here, there are many days not at all, or we could see a vendor, but they're not approaching us, or you get approached, but again, it's just would you like to buy this thing? And then you say, oh, no, thank you. And they move right on.
Yeah, everybody's very friendly that way. So there's people that want to braid your hair. They want to give you massages. The rash guard shirts, we ended up buying the long sleeve
shirts.
to protect you from the sun. Fantastic.
That was the best buy we ever made here.
We bought those,
After
and
a few
I've
days
only
of
worn
being
that.
here.
I've not worn a bathing suit the rest of the,
because we don't want to be
month.
sunburned.
Yeah, because
right?
the sun is so strong here. So they're selling a lot of those, but that's about it.
Super comfortable, both in and out of the water. And
yeah.
That's why,
But that's all the vendors. But they're very friendly, and people trying to get you to do all the different activities. But you just say no. They're very friendly. I was talking with one guy the other day, just chatting with him. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
The food's been okay. We're noticing, and okay meaning it's good food. It's just maybe not as great as the food that we got when we were in Mexico. That just kind of, I would say, kind of blew us away at how good it was. So we thought that food was better. We really, really, really enjoyed it. This has been really good food, just maybe not the best.
Yeah, not as flavorful, but a lot of restaurants. I mean, there's a lot of seafood here because we're in the water.
Mm-hmm.
There are some Caribbean, rice and beans.
Coconut rice and beans.
Coconut rice and beans.
Pretty common.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Fine.
So kind
It's
of
good.
some Caribbean flavors, but then also because they're catering to so many cruise ships and tourists and stuff. I mean, you can also get chicken nuggets if you want, and a cheeseburger, and a lot of
and fries,
you
and
can get pizza, all that stuff.
It's
So
all
yeah,
that stuff
food's
too,
been
but-
fine. Not actually gourmet, but
Yeah, baleadas is the one
Those are
big
good.
comment I would say, that is definitely more local
yes.
type of thing, and those are really good.
Those
so
are good.
highly recommend baleadas. Inexpensive, they're
I
really
had
good. All
pupusas the
sorts
other
of
day.
different
Those were good
types.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are really good. And then how was the water sports is probably definitely the number one reason to come here is
Right.
for the amazing Caribbean water, and it's a lot better. I've been to to the Bahamas when on a cruise ship one time and visited different areas in the Bahamas. I would say this one here it's a lot better than there. Certainly a lot better the water than anywhere that we experienced in Mexico. So it's for that
It's
reason.
warm, it's beautiful, it's
amazing
clear. You're definitely on island time. Nobody moves fast. Again, you can just wear your bathing suit, no makeup. It's very, very relaxing here. So we hope you come.
Yeah,
sometime.
highly recommend it. It's
Yeah.
been a wonderful month for us here. We never ran out of things to do, and we really enjoyed our stay.
Yes. Bye for now.
See you next time. Bye.